Carlton, and he was a fantastic... Yes, absolutely. A fantastic contributor, and of course slotted beautifully into that 95 premiership side, and they slotted straight in that forward pocket, and we're going to have a bit of a chat with him about his role with Stephen Kernahan in that 95 GF when we had won those record amount of games on end. But would you please make welcome, and he's, as I say, the bloke, as Colin Kinnear said to me this morning, he had great vision. He was tough at the ball, and for the disabilities and the injuries that he had, he was absolutely excelled in all departments. Please make welcome Greg Diesel Williams. Yeah, just for me. Welcome, Greg. Big night, mate. It's as I said, a Monday night, but they'd be usually all at home watching Talking Footy, but they're here, mate, honouring you. It's a terrific night for you.
No, it's great to see so many people here, and I appreciate the turn up. And I'm not sure what's going to happen, but I'm looking forward to a few yarns, and I'm sure there's going to be some good stories told.
And mate, on the left there, Bernard Tui's already warmed up. He's telling me a few stories before about your first days in Geelong, so we're looking forward to some pretty good yarns there from Bernard, mate. You're preparing yourself there, Diesel?
Look, I'm not sure what Bernard's going to come up with, but I'm sure there's some beauties, and it's a long time ago, Geelong, when I was there, but really, they were good memories, and a lot of good mates there, and that's obviously where I started, Geelong, and I have got fond memories there, and a lot of mates still down there, so...
And mate, a great night for you. I mean, the fact that so many of your teammates, or former teammates from Carlton are here. Of course, your former teammates in Jimmy Buckley and also in Bernard Toohey. I mean, it's a great night, and I suppose Carlton, let's talk about the later years as far as Carlton's concerned. I mean, Carlton meant so much to you, didn't it?
Oh, no, it was great to come back. I didn't really want to leave Carlton at the start, but unfortunately they had the mosquito fleet there, and Parko wasn't that interested in slow blokes and that sort of thing, which was understandable. Because they had Buckley and, you know, Ashman and all those blokes. You remember those blokes, obviously, the Carlton people, and they had a great side. They just won the premiership, and unfortunately, but it was like I said, I had a few knockbacks there, and at the time, I think obviously the parents will know how devastated I was when I got the arse from Carlton a couple of times.
But, you knew when to come back though, Deals. There was no money when we were there. You come back and got the lot.
Yeah, we're going to get onto that actually. Yeah, don't worry. That's one of the main points. But please make welcome Greg Williams. Just take us back to the early days as far as the injuries you had. Of course, it started from a very early, I suppose, the age of 2.5, when you had to wear calipers. You had knee problems, knock-kneed as a kid.
I was disabled, like you said before.
I was going to say that, mate.
No, I was. No, I had a few problems when I was young. There's no doubt about that. But no, I had a great upbringing. I did. I was lucky. I had a great family and brothers and sisters, parents and stuff like that. Which no, I had a great time as a kid. Obviously, loved playing sport, footy, cricket, that sort of thing. And it went on and moved from. I used to live in Essendon, Moonee Ponds. We brought up there. Went to Flemington Primary School. Didn't do that well there, but I.
What do you mean, mate? What was your? What was the problem, mate?
Shit house at school, I was. But I remember I had a teacher there. I've seen him a couple of times since. Ken Jorgensen. I think I was in grade 3, and he said on my report. He said, "Forget about school, concentrate on footy." That was in grade 3, so he was a good judge at the end. I know, but as I said, we moved on to Bendigo, and I had a great time in Bendigo. Obviously, Golden Square was a great footy club, and I played with Ron Best and Tony Southcombe, these sort of guys who coached me. I think I was 16 when I started there, and they were, they were fantastic times. You know, to be that young and playing football. I had a bigger brother who played, who was, he was a magnificent friend of mine, and he looked after me, through school. I remember I went to Kangaroo Flat Tech. You've probably all heard of it. It's one of the best schools in Bendigo. I went there. I went there year 7, Form 1, and my brother was in Form 2, and he was the best fighter in the school.
Well, that's handy.
As soon as I got there,
that's a surprise, isn't it?
I had a dream run.
The story goes that because he was the best fighter in town, they used to come up to him. They'd come from out of towns, and they'd say, "Are you John Williams?" And he'd go, "Smash! Yeah, who wants to know?"
No, I had a free run through school. And footy, like I said, I had a dream run, and even when I was at Golden Square, I used to get the ball a bit, and I used to get tagged when I was 16. I was getting tagged in Bendigo League, and it was a pain in the arse. But like I said, my brother looked after me. I never got hurt in a game.
Sounds like a pretty handy bloke to know, your brother.
No, he was. I don't want to put him out as a thug or anything, but everyone was shit scared of John. and we went. I remember one day we played at Castlemaine. I don't want to talk for too long, but I remember this day we played at Castlemaine, and it was a great ground. We used to have a couple of trees that come onto the ground. You know, you kick the ball too high, and some of our wingers we had, they played a bit wide, and they hit the tree sometimes, and you had to root it off the tree, and that sort of thing. But there was also a jail on the top of the hill. There was a jail, a Castlemaine jail, and they used to bring the players from the jail to play on the weekend for Castlemaine. And this big tough bloke, they thought he had tats all over him. He was the toughest, big tough ruckman from Castlemaine. And I was like I said, this is the first year I played Golden Square, and I went for the ball, and anyway, he belted me in the back of the head, and John's followed through, and he's knocked this bloke out. The Castlemaine's toughest player, he's knocked him out, and the ambulance, I still remember the ambulance coming onto the ground, picking this bloke up and taking him back to jail. Anyway, that was the Bendigo days, and geez, the discos. I got some great stories of discos and stuff, but I won't talk too much about John because
This is the first story, by the way, everyone. This is the early years.
This is my life story. Anyway, I did finally get to Geelong, and I should say, actually, I met my wife in Bendigo.
Beautiful. Magnificent. Yeah. Oh, that's my cue. Sorry.
It's a big story too. Now, the best decision I ever made. I had to chase hard to get her, I tell you. But I did get her, and that was the best decision I ever made.
And I believe you are... Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And I believe you met in a fairly romantic little spot up there in Bendigo, at the Bendigo squash courts. Is that right? Is that where the romance started? Tell us a bit about that.
That's right. I did. I met Mary. Obviously, her parents owned the squash course, and my old man was a very good squash player, and he played he played stage squash, and he was a fantastic squash player, and it's probably one of the most disappointing things in my whole life. I played the old man at squash. I played him. I was about 18. I think the old man was about 42 or something, and he beat me in 5 sets, and that's probably one of the most disappointing things that's ever happened to me.
Let me just ask you both about the move north to Sydney. How was it for you? I mean, first to you, Greg. I mean, was it obviously a pretty big move going into Sydney, but of course, Brownlow medal success with Dipper. Not a bad start at a new club.
Played all right, Cheselden.
No, the doctor was generous, the doctor. But no, look, it wasn't easy to leave Geelong. I remember even negotiating a
You were in
contract.
charge of the splitters group, remember? It was all the same. If you go, I'll go, you go.
No, there's a few of us a bit afraid to leave, but anyway. Geelong weren't prepared to pay us a bit more money, and the Swans were offering plenty, so we decided to go, and there was...
It's fair inspiration, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fair motivation, yeah.
But there was two of us, obviously Bolton and Tui. Tui started it, and we all decided to go. Obviously Hafey was there as well. He was obviously keen for us to go up there as well. But no, they were good times up there. We got a fair crew together, and we ended up having a very successful years for Sydney, and finished on top ladder a couple of times. Unfortunately, never won a final, which was disappointing. But I was a shame that we never had a final in Sydney, which they do these days. I think if they had done that, we would have been a hell of a lot. Would have easily beaten Carlton in 87, was it? We had to play them with the MCG. If we had to play them at home...
We flogged you in 87, didn't we?
But if we had to play them at home like they do these days, I think we would have been a lot better off, but never mind. And yeah, like I said, we had a great time up there, and a couple of great years under Hafey, and then obviously Cole Kinnear took over, and unfortunately, not because Cole was there, but things got a bit worse. The players dropped off, and we didn't recruit that well, and at the end when I left, Sydney was in a bad way.
And of course, in 1989, you four gentlemen were all there for the Rhys Jones incident. Now, I want to ask you all about this because this is a direct quote from Diesel, which I absolutely love. It's quote, "It gave me great satisfaction to break Rhys Jones's jaw in 2 places. He had that punch coming to him for years." So, mate, firstly, Sticks, your recollections of the '89 incident with Rhys Jones, and then we'll have to ask Diesel, did he have it coming to him for years, and if he stands by that quote?
Well, as Bucks would say, there's not many people know I was a Carlton man. I love Big Nose Rhys, but he did break your shoulder first up, didn't he?
Yeah, Rhys forgot that.
It was an accidental knee to the back as Dews was on the ground. He accidentally fell over as he's running along. He broke Dews' shoulder blade, apparently, so that's
Actually,
probably why.
I was fighting Bradley on the ground.
You were what?
I was wrestling with Bradley, I think, at that stage.
Bradley was always like that, wasn't he?
Oh, he was...
He loves to fight, doesn't
He's
he?
a dirty bastard. Dirty bastard, Bradley.
He's antagonistic. But no, look, it was a great punch, though. I think that'll go down in history as one of the great punches in all time. You can look at Arnold Brightis' hit on Glenn Hawker, if those of you that have seen that one.
What about Buckley? He had a couple
Jimmy
of beauties.
Buckley knocked Jimmy Edmonds' jaw to...
Yeah,
Many years ago,
he had
Bucks.
8 cracks at me. This bloke put him on me. Harker down here. He was a fault.
But
He
Rhys
could
is,
like whack Jimmy Edmond.
if you look at Rhys very closely today, you can still see his jaw's a little bit sideways, isn't it, Bucks? So it was a good hit.
Good hit. Jimmy, your recollections of it, mate?
Of
the hit.
I actually didn't play that game.
Oh, didn't you?
Jim, no, I was home in the...
You've seen it a million times though over, haven't
I
you?
was home at minding the kids. I don't think I had kids at that stage. But I was at home, and it was a good hit. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
No, I like to clear. I think Rhys has been quoted the last few days, or last week, about in the paper saying there was a cheap shot. Well, you know, Rhys forgot what did happen. Like I say, I remember I was wrestling with Bradley on the ground about a minute after I hit Rhys. A minute before I hit Rhys, and Rhys kneed me from behind and broke me left shoulder blade, which is very difficult to break. And he did that, and like I said, for years, Rhys, I like Rhys. I reckon he was a fantastic player, but he was on the ground. He was an absolute shocker.
White line. Yeah. Yep.
He was he's the biggest pest.
Is he a bigger pest than Sean Denham?
No, he was. He was like Rhys. You think? No, you reckon Rhys would learn after all the hits he's had? You reckon he'd learn and just concentrate on his footy and play footy? But he wouldn't. He wouldn't learn. He'd always do things. Like I remember kicking goals at. Kick a goal at Carlton, like he'd elbow in the mouth, running back to the centre. You know, like things like that. You run past him, he'd trip you up. He's just a pain in the arse, he was, Rhys. Anyway,
Rhys is
like
on
I
his
said,
way,
he's been quoted in the paper as it was a cheap shot. That's fine, but he broke my shoulder before it, and
Greg, the ball was there. It was there.
remember.
I'll back you up.
No, the tribunal. I must admit, one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made. And Busy was there. He was the chairman. And he kept asking me, is there anything else happened before? He asked me 4 times because he knew exactly what happened. And
That bloke there on the left that was asleep the last 3 years, the tribunal, that old bloke.
he's still there.
He's tapped on the shoulder. He said, "You got any questions?" He went back to sleep.
That's right. But in those days, you didn't dob the other bloke in. And that's the way it was. And I didn't dob Rhys in because it was retaliation. And I did hit him back, obviously.
I think fair enough. Now, Bernard, I think, told a story earlier when we were meeting beforehand, a bit of support there, Diesel, about the fact that you were going to help him out. You offered to...
I would try to look after him, Greg, and see he was hurt, like he was in pain. And I said, "How you going?" He said, "Oh," I said, "Do you want us to even up?" And he said, "Nah, I'm staying on till I get him." And he walked past, said, "I got him." And then walked straight off the ground with a broken shoulder. Probably Rhys he should have been a bit smarter, Rhys, and broke his right shoulder. Because we did a bit of boxing training together up in Sydney with Johnny Lewis and who'd coached Fennick and that, and they said Greg has had the best right hander that they've ever seen.
I must, like I said, I like Rhys. I do.
No, we've got that, mate.
I like it.
We've got that loud and clear. Yeah, but
But I said, and even after I hit him, I broke his jaw. Like the bloke, I went down the goal square because I was injured, and this wasn't on the TV. But I went down. He came down on me, and he wanted to get me back. Like a guy couldn't talk. Anyway, he He's got me by the throat on my jumper, and he's trying to tell me he's going to hit me back, and I've hit him in the mouth again.
As you do.
Just touched him on the chin. He's just gone down on the ground. He's in so much pain, the guy. They're like pull up, Rhys.
But you're on speaking terms now, which is good. You can now speak now, after 10 years after the fact. Let's take a look at some of the highlights of Greg Williams in action for the Swans in the mid-'80s. Of course, his Brownlow medal was a wonderful occasion for you, as we just touched on with joint winner, of course, with Dipper. And, of course, we might even hear from David Bolton as well. Let's just take a look at some of the highlights.
G'day, Greg. Sorry I couldn't be with you tonight, mate. Fantastic news on your gold logie. Mate, about time you won it with your outgoing personality and vibrant, outgoing attitudes. Just the best thing ever. On a serious note, Greg, I'd just like to congratulate you on a wonderful career, even though it's a couple of years ago now. I believe you're a player without peer. Just like to say, enjoy our business relationship we've got, but most of all, I respect our friendship.
Well, hand pass comes out from Mitchell, picked up by Williams to the left foot. Snapshot is good, it's a goal. First score to the Swans. Edmund run. Now it's Williams. Steadies, gets through the pack. What a heavy traffic there. Williams has goal. And that's his second.
Hawthorn's Robert Di Domenico and Sydney Swan centreman Greg Williams hold 17 votes each to share the award.
Well, there you have it. Greg Williams, the early years. How was it, mate, winning the Brownlow with our old mate Dipper?
No, it was fine. Dipper did all the talking. I just sat at the back there. But no, it was good. No, I have a good relationship with Dipper, and it was obviously a big thrill to win it in those days.
Hi, Dad. We're proud of you. Just as well we had a practice. Where's your laptop, Dad? We're proud of you. Have a good night. Yeah, and thanks for the invite.
Hi, Dad. Are you getting a kick? Have a good night.
Now, Diesel, on to the Carlton days, mate, and moving down from Sydney, of course, poultices of money to go to Carlton again, mate, and, mate, what was it like? I mean, obviously played in the losing premiership side in 1993, that bit of a run-in with Shawnee Denham, and, of course, Sean Denham relates that great story in 93 after winning the grand final. It's great that Essendon won that grand final, of course, And, of course, we had to all go and drown our sorrows at the Southern Cross, but Shawnee Denham, he walked into a pub apparently a couple of days after that GF and saw your photo up on the wall of a pub and decided to go up to it and turn the memorabilia around, face it the other way. He was sick and tired of the sight of you and decided to tag you again. Firstly, 93 GF, disappointment, a low of your career. Sean Denham in your face again. Nothing much has really changed.
No, I had a few games against Denham. He wasn't that much of a problem, really.
Wasn't he?
No, well, the grand final day drove me mad a bit, but I took him down in the pocket there for a while.
What was it?
Denham, like, he was a pest, he really was. And,
yeah.
He was a good player, Denham, but that's all. And he played...
Like Rhys? Like Rhys?
No, Rhys is a lot better player than Denham, I can tell you. And but Denham, like he had a job to do, and he did a good job in the grand final. But the same thing that day, like he got 5 weeks that day because he hit me earlier, and I just like hitting him back if he hit me. That's all. And like I said, we had a bad day, and it was probably an undisciplined thing to actually hit the guy in a grand final. But I was pretty devastated about three-quarter time, as we all were, and he said a few things that upset me, and I wasn't in a very good mood at that stage. That's I'm not proud of what I did with Denham, but that's the way it goes.
Fair enough. Sticks, when he first arrived from Sydney, what were your first impressions of Diesel?
What was I going to say?
Microphone?
Yeah, Diesel, well, he could play a bit, and I was always worried because I've seen him build a few blokes on the way through, but We were absolutely rapt to get him because we needed a good quality midfielder, and we got the best bloke going around. And I think Carlton made a conscious decision that we needed a bloke like him, and he was the #1 player in the league footy at the time, without a doubt. And we went and got him, which it was pretty hard to do, to get him in those days, and we managed to do that. So, and you know, we reaped the benefits: best and fairest, Brownlow medal, Norm Smith medal, and he's been fantastic, hasn't he? He's been a beauty. But Denham did end up where Rhys Jones ended up, didn't he?
The one?
Sean Denham definitely ended up where Rhys ended up, didn't he, Churchill?
Yeah, busted nose. I think he's lost his sense of smell, Denham. That's definitely gone. No, I think he has.
It's quite amazing. Nothing was caught because you know how many cameras. You know, 93, they're all over the place, and nothing was ever caught, was it?
Busy told me there's 27 cameras there that day.
And you've got him in. Was it near the centre of the ground, or?
No, I was half forward.
Yeah, just. Where was the ball at the time?
I was a fair way away.
Fair way away.
But I just want to. I remember the Swans. Yeah, the reason I left the Swans, like the Swans were in huge trouble. Like you can't imagine how bad the Swans. I know there's a few players who were there at that time, and like you couldn't imagine how bad a club could get in regards to players' cars getting repossessed while they're training. You know, like no strapping, no toilet paper zip. You know, you can't imagine how bad. You know, a national competition like they talk about. Like a national competition, like it was really embarrassing how bad the Swans were at that stage, and you know, like even the Lockett thing was like sensational, and they say how magnificent he was for Sydney, and he is, and he has been. And but I tell you, there's some players there before him who like Dennis Carroll and Stevie Wright and these guys, Rod Carter, and even my mates Bolton and Mitchell and Tui, and I tell you, the Swans would not be there without, and Healy's another one. These guys who were fantastic blokes, and the Swans would be stuffed if they hadn't been there and stayed as long as they did. And that's just one thing on the Swans. Anyway, so I got a bit ruthless myself and I said, stuff this, I'm going.
I thought I was going first.
Yeah. But anyway, we decided we're all going.
Well, Bernard, you went to Footscray. I mean, what was it like? I mean, you've been playing together since Geelong, of course, been at Sydney together. I mean, what was it like when you were the old firm, I suppose, splitting up? You went to Footscray, he went to Carlton. How was it?
Oh, it was good because I'd still catch him and tackle him. Oh, no, it was a decision we'd both made. As Greg said, the Swans are in disarray, and I think when we sort of had a bit of a chat, they looked like they were going to be non-existent within a year or two, I would imagine. So they were just hopelessly out of sorts. So I'd sort of made the decision to head back to Geelong. Had a young family, and sort of one was getting ready for school, so sort of thought, well, we'll settle back in Geelong and we'll go from there. And Greg said, well, I'm going. If you're going, I'm going too. But we got a lot more money to go to Carlton than I did go to Footscray, I can tell you that. But good luck to Carlton. They missed the boat early in the career, but I'm pretty sure most of you people will be pretty happy that Greg donned a Blues jumper, I'd imagine.
What are the enduring qualities in your eyes, Bernard, that you can remember as far as Greg Williams was concerned as a player? I mean, we talk about his vision, terrific handball, I mean, all those sort of attributes, but what was the one thing that stood out for you in your eyes?
Oh, I just think his will to win, and these incidents we've spoken about tonight, these minor incidents with Rhys, his will to beat Rhys Jones was, to have a broken shoulder and still to finish on top of Rhys, and I suppose even Sean Denham too, to be able to have the will to finish on top. And I suppose you could sort of see probably in his early career at Carlton, he probably wasn't going so well with crook knees and that sort of thing, but his will to win and survive and sort of change, I suppose, the coaching staff's plans for Greg, as he showed, like to come out and win a Norm Smith medal in 1995, and that's probably, I would imagine, the pinnacle of most players' careers, to win a grand final and be the best player on the ground in the grand final. So I'm sort of showed, his just determination, the way he trained and just the way he basically applied himself to the game of Aussie rules. It was just a magnificent. I was glad that I was being able to witness it, and I still class him as the best player I've ever played with.
Greg, how about the knee? Let's say in 92, 93, the knee. I mean, playing with painkillers and stuff. I mean, just how tough was it?
No, it was really frustrating, obviously, because I came to Carlton with fair reputation, a fair contract, and I was under a lot of pressure, and I really did. My knee was buggered in the first year I got there. I remember even, there's games at half time, I get my knee drained and stuff like that, which I should never have done. I should have got it fixed at that stage, but I kept going and stuffed it up more. But no, I really did have a crook knee. There's no doubt about that, and I got it fixed to a certain extent, and I've looked after it, and I changed my game and my training and all that sort of stuff to try and to get through, and still did all right in the end. And but it was unfortunate I wasn't as fit as I could have been from when I got to Carlton. It really was. It's hard enough when you can't run fast as it is without being slow and injured as well. It really is difficult. And it's just a shame it wasn't as fit as I would have liked to have been when I was at Carlton. But like I said, we still did some great things, and obviously disappointment in '93, which was devastating. And then to be able to play with a team, it's not so much just the grand final day, but the whole year with those players. Parko, obviously the coach, and it was probably the most memorable thing. Not just the finish, but the actual, to win so many games in a row, and to win by so much all year. We had a sensational side, and we were just too good for the whole league. And to go on and cap it off in grand final day was just a great finish. And the whole thing about everyone's career is playing the grand final. I really did cap off my career, and I was just so, it was just such a relief to be able to play the grand final and win one and be part of that whole season, which was a sensational year, and we broke all the records that year, and it was great.
Now, 94, a terrific year, of course, second Brownlow, and have a listen to this. He's picked up every award going around. He's picked up the Channel 7 award, 20 grand, Sunday Herald Sun, 15 grand, 3AW, 10 grand, the Sunday Age, 5,000, the Age, 3,000, 3LO, 1,000, for a total of $54,000 just in awards alone in '94. But you had to give back a grant at the end of the season because you got pinged for striking, unfortunately. So was that a bit of a downer, losing the grant at the end of the year? But I mean, it was a pretty good year, wasn't it?
No, it was. Yeah, statistically, it was probably my best year. But like I said, it was a great side. I remember, our ball, the footy go in the back line, and I just made position, and it kept coming out. With Silvani and Ange Christou and McKay and those blokes. They. It wasn't that hard. You only had to play half the ground, and because you wouldn't worry about going back too far. And no, it was great. It was.
How about the Brownlows compared to the flag in '95? I mean, two Brownlow medals.
Yeah.
Premiership player. Yeah. How do they compare? I mean, which one would you? If I had to give a choice of one or the other, or are you going to take them all?
Yeah. No, look, they're different. They really are. But I'm wrapped it up as a Brownlow medalist, and like I said, the biggest thing was to play in the Premiership. It really was. And like I said, even best and fairest, I won at Geelong, and Healy beat me 3 times at Sydney, which Healy was a champion player as well. He was, and would have loved to have won one there, and I was lucky enough to win one at Carlton as well, which they're special. And I think, but I still remember the day I was at. I went back. I was in Sydney. I came back and trained with the Victorian side, and because you sort of, once you finish, you think about these things that you've done, and you don't reminisce too much. But this day, I went back to. I went to state training. I went back to my brother's place in Geelong, and on that night, I was named captain of Victoria, and I still think that's the best feeling I've ever had when I was named captain of Victoria. So.
And now, of course, on the coaching staff at Carlton, and on the coaching staff, and you've got another nickname, I believe, now, mate. Diesel's now out at Carlton for this man. It's now Cheezels. Now, give us the background of the Cheezels, please, mate.
Yeah, I got this bloke at Carlton who's a bloody Mitchell. He's a pest, and he's a shit stirrer, and he's a comedian, and he's a great bloke as well, and he. Obviously, because of the hole in the back of my head, he reckons it looks like a cheesel, and that's fine, which, it does. And that's where I started. He just started calling me Cheezle, and Diesel was out and Cheese was in.
Let's take it to some of the highlights of Greg Williams in action at Carlton in the 90s. Some great highlights, some great memories.